So when you've done your experiment well, you'll have all this data in your Google Doc. We want to make a graph out of this. So start by creating a Google Sheet where we can put your data and make a nice graph. I'm highlighting my data in the table in the Google Doc. I'm pressing Control-C to copy, going over to the Google Sheet, pressing Control-V to paste. So this is the data. Mine only goes up to 110 seconds. I'm hoping yours goes up to 300 seconds or something like that. Okay, so now the data is in the Google Sheet. I can make a nice graph. If your data isn't already highlighted, highlight it now. Insert a chart. So mine came up with a default line chart, which is good. It tells us some important information about the mealworm. I didn't specify what the experimental variable is. You need to specify. What did you do that was different between the control and the experimental variable? But if I want to get more information out of the graph, I really want to look at the slope of the lines. If your graph is not linear, then slope doesn't really have meaning. But my data is fairly linear, so let's put lines on there. That's called a trend line. Up here in the upper right, customize. And trend line is under series. So I could pick the blue line, or I could pick the red line, or I could pick both. Might as well pick both. And I'm scrolling down here, and you can see I have trend line. It has added two lines. You probably can see the blue one, but you can't see the red one because it's right behind the actual data points. To make that useful, you want to show the equation. Use equation here. If you say none, we've got the lines, but they don't tell you anything. So say use equation, label. Then up here, you see there is a blue line, that's the trend line equation. There's a red line, there's a trend line equation. It's up to you to make sense of these numbers. One of them is a slope, one is an intercept. They're important. Try to analyze what do they tell you. You have a couple of different options. The default is the line chart, which may be okay. It's probably okay. And the other choice you've done before is the scatter plot, where we could get a linear, where we could get a trend line, line of best fit. So this graph that came up is a line graph. Let's drag it up. You can see the whole thing. Go ahead and highlight the data that you have. Your data will go past 110 seconds, I hope. But this is all the data that I made up. So I'm copying that, and I'm going to put that into a Google Sheet so I can make a nice graph.